It weighs from 120 to 220 pounds, long in the body, powerful in the hind legs. The puma holds a curious record. It has more names than any other animal on the continent: cougar, mountain lion, catamount, panther. In English alone, this cat has more than 40 different names. Its range runs from the Yukon in Canada down to the far south of Patagonia, through forest, desert, and ice. Despite the name mountain lion, the puma is not one of the true big cats. Genetically, it is closer to the domestic cat than to the tiger or the leopard. It lives alone, a male holding a territory of around 80 square miles, and outside the mating season, tolerating almost no other male within it. The puma is most active at dusk, and before dawn, the hours when the light is just weak enough to erase the outline of its body. Behind its retina lies a reflective layer, the tapetum, turning every scrap of remaining light into an advantage. In that half-light, it reads every movement on the ground long before its prey can see it. As evening comes, the wind shifts, blowing down from the ice fields into the valley. The puma lowers its body, becoming... In this harsh land, most hunts end in failure, but this time, one small lapse has delivered a stunning victory. But the guanaco is not prey easily brought down. On this barren grassland, they are among the toughest survivors of all. Massive in build. At a weight that can reach 310 pounds, a grown guanaco is half again to twice the weight of the hunter stalking it. To keep this vast biological engine running in a land so short of calories, nature has given them a flexible, split upper lip. This unusual feature lets the guanaco pick carefully at the hardest, shortest, lowest growing grasses, food that other grazers are forced to leave behind. They can even wring the last drop of moisture from bone-dry plants, going for weeks on end without drinking. Their defensive weapon lies in the build of the body itself. The long, raised neck is wrapped in skin as thick as armor, ready to blunt a killing bite from an enemy. Their weathered coat is thick and holds heat well, enough to withstand the 4 below zero cold of Andean nights. But the guanaco's real strength lies in the discipline of the herd. There are always sentries standing on the rocks, not feeding, patiently keeping watch. One alarm call, and the whole herd flees at once. Puma and guanaco have shared this land for hundreds of thousands of years. Long enough to build an endless race of survival between them. Hardship shapes the wariness of the prey, and that wariness in turn keeps sharpening the instincts of the killer. Overhead, where the air is already too thin for most winged things, a dark shape has been circling for hours, the Andean condor. It has a wingspan of nearly 11 feet and weighs up to 33 pounds, the heaviest bird of prey alive on the planet. At that weight, flapping continuously is all but impossible. And so, it barely flaps at all. Trackers fitted to wild birds show the Andean condor beats its wings only about 1% of its flight time. One bird flew for more than 5 hours without a single flap. It flies by reading the air, rising in columns of warm air lifting off the cliffs, then gliding on a long descent to the next. In this way, it patrols hundreds of miles a day at almost no cost. From that height, its eyes search not for the carcass, but for other birds coming down to it. When it sees them converging on a single point, it folds its wings and drops. Its head and neck are almost bare, so the part that plunges deep into a carcass does not become a nest for bacteria. Its hooked beak can tear through the thickest hide, which no smaller bird could open. But not every creature of the high country lives among rock and cliff. In mountain hollows with no drainage, meltwater has gathered over thousands of years, forming salt lakes up among the clouds. This is one of the harshest environments in the Andes. Lying at around 14,000 feet, the water here is bitterly salty, highly alkaline, laced in places with toxic minerals, and skinned with thin ice at night. Very few living things can endure it. And yet the surface of the lake still glows a faint pink. These are Andean flamingos, the rarest flamingos in the world. It is bound for life to these high salt lakes, where the greatest threat is not claws, but the level of the water. It is the only flamingo with yellow legs, rather than the pink or grey of its lowland relatives. That small detail sets it apart from every other flamingo. What keeps it here is a food almost nothing else will touch. Diatoms, tiny single-celled organisms drifting in the salt water. Its beak is a filtering machine. Inside lie rows of horny plates packed like the teeth of a comb, fine enough to hold back the diatoms while pushing water and mud out. It feeds, with its head turned upside down, sweeping the beak back and forth through the shallows, filtering out the tiniest nutrients from water that looks, to the eye, like nothing but murk. It is the pigment in those algae and small crustaceans that dyes its feathers pink. A chick is not born pink. It turns pink through the very food it eats all its life. But that life is a fragile one. The Andean flamingo breeds slowly, and when the lake's water level shifts through drought or mining, an entire season's breeding can be lost. Too large to be hunted efficiently. This animal did not evolve to fight better or run faster. It evolved never to stand alone. But the wildebeest does not travel alone. Alongside the herds move the zebra, and the bond between the two species runs far deeper than it appears. Zebra crop the tallest, coarsest grass, the kind a wildebeest's gut cannot process well. Behind them, the soft young growth below is exposed, exactly the grass the wildebeest needs. It is a kind of unwitting farming, two species preparing the pasture for one another, with no intention at all. Together, the warning systems of the two species are almost impossible to beat. Zebra have excellent color vision, catching movement from far off. Wildebeest have an especially sharp sense of smell and hearing, picking up a predator's scent from more than 500 yards downwind. But even the most complete system has a gap. And the hunters of this plain have spent their whole lives learning where those gaps are. The sharpest line between life and death does not lie on land. Today, that gap lies at the Mara River. To carry on north, the migration must cross this river. And beneath the murky, red-brown water, Nile crocodiles have been waiting for weeks. This is Africa's largest reptile. A mature male can reach 20 feet and weigh more than 1,500 pounds. It can go a full year without eating, its metabolism so slow that a single large meal fuels the whole body for months. That lets it wait with a patience no other predator can match. Stock okay. Lying motionless beneath the fast water, it is disguised as a drifting log, showing only its cold eyes and two nostrils. Along the rim of its jaws lie thousands of hypersensitive sense organs able to detect the faintest ripple on the surface. It does not need to see clearly. It only needs to feel its prey stepping into range. As the wildebeest begin to enter the water, the crocodiles do not move. They only slide quietly toward the main current, not a ripple, not a sign. The strike comes without warning. The surface erupts in a fraction of a second. A large Nile crocodile can bite down with several thousand pounds of force per square inch, among the most powerful bites ever measured in a living animal. A cry of panic is dragged under, into water swirling red. But around that spot, the herd swims on, not stopping, unable to stop. Like a river that cannot stop flowing for a single stone. Fearsome as it is, the crocodile does not decide how the river itself works. That belongs to another animal. The hippopotamus. A bull's territory is measured not in acres of grassland, but in the length of a stretch of river. A few hundred yards of water, and he will hold that same stretch for years on end. His lower canines reach 20 inches, never stop growing, and sharpen themselves each time the jaws close. But most disputes between hippos are not settled with those teeth. They are settled with sound. A hippo's call travels through air and water at the same moment. One signal, two elements, two different audiences at once. In 2022, researchers found that hippos recognize the calls of their neighbors and tell them apart from the calls of strangers. Each stretch of river is a community that knows exactly who belongs to it and who does not. And in holding its place, the hippo leaves a mark no other animal can leave. Night after night, the same group climbs the bank along the same path, and year after year their weight carves the riverbank into deep channels. Those channels guide rainwater back into the river and become the way down to the water for many animals too weak to cut a path through the steep bank themselves. The hippo hunts nothing and is hunted by almost nothing, yet the shape of the river the migration must cross is, in large part, its own work. The proof of that untouchable status is clearest after dark. As the sun sets, a hippo quietly leaves the water. Tons of flesh ambling across open ground is the ultimate temptation for a pride of lions watching nearby. But temptation always comes at a steep price. Without a trace of fear, the hippo slowly turns. The lions understand at once. They turn away and leave, surrendering the darkness to the true king of the river. On the northern edge, where the migration has not yet passed, another story is being written. A story that needs neither speed nor endurance. The African lion is the only big cat in the world that lives in an organized group. And that group is built around its females. Every female in a pride is related, born there and staying there for almost all of her life. They give birth at the same time, nurse one another's cubs, and carry out nearly all of the hunting. Hunting as a pride, their success rate reaches 30 to 40%, double that of hunting alone. The males take a different road. At around 3 years old, they are driven out of the pride. And even when they win a pride of their own, they usually hold that place for only 2 to 3 years. What endures in a pride is not the males, but the line of females that has held this same ground across many generations. But today, the pride is not aiming at the migration. It is aiming at what stayed behind. An animal that takes no part in the migration. The Cape buffalo takes no part in the Great Migration. It stays because the Masai Mara still offers enough grass and water to sustain the whole herd. The buffalo is the most dangerous prey a lion regularly faces. A mature bull weighs up to 1,900 pounds, and the hard shield of bone across its skull can throw a lion clear with a single head-on charge. Since first light, the pride has been shadowing the herd in silence. When the moment comes, they work together to cut one individual away from the herd. The attack is sudden and savage. The buffalo fights back hard, but in the end it falls to the combined strength of the pride. On this plain, no meal comes for free. The lions stand around their kill, breathing heavily after a hunt full of risk. At the edge of an acacia grove, a giraffe stands taller than everything around it. At 18 feet to the top of its head, it is the tallest living creature on Earth. From that height, it can see the lions feeding half a mile away. The buffalo have scattered toward the shade of the trees, leaving an empty space in the middle of the plain. And the migration still flows on, like a river that never stops. Its height does more than reach, leaves no other animal can touch. It is also the finest early warning system on the plain. But that height is not free. To pump blood up to a brain that sits nearly 6 feet above the heart, a giraffe's heart must generate a blood pressure twice that of any other mammal. In the veins of its neck are one-way valves, and the skin of its legs is bound as tight. And each time it bends down to drink, a fine mesh of blood vessels beneath the base of the skull holds the flow back, so it does not faint. This entire body is a system built for one purpose: to withstand its own height. In return, that size is a passport across the whole of this plain. No sensible predator attacks a healthy, full-grown giraffe, while easier options remain. Sometimes the best way to survive is to become something not worth the attempt. Evening falls on the Masai Mara. The last light of day turns the swaying grass to gold in the soft wind. The migration still flows, never stopping, never looking back. The lions rest, eyes closed but ears still listening. Down in the Mara River, the hippos begin to leave the water, heading out onto the grass to feed through the night. The giraffe still stands there, looking down over the whole plain in the fading light. Bromeliads. After the emptiness of the high country, this place is packed with life. Hidden within that endless forest is the only bear on the entire South American continent, the spectacled bear. It is also the last surviving descendant of an old line of short-faced bears. Its name comes from the pale markings that ring the eyes and muzzle like a pair of spectacles. This pattern is unique. No two individuals ever quite the same. Unlike the familiar image of a bear, this animal eats very little meat. Most of its diet is plants, fruit, young shoots, and above all the soft core of the wild bromeliad. In search of its favorite food, the spectacled bear has evolved into a superb climber. It can climb to the very tops of tall trees to gather fruit, and even bends branches into hanging beds where it lies to eat and rest for days at a time. It is that fruit-eating habit that has made the spectacled bear the diligent gardener of the cloud forest. Seeds travel with it across the slopes, then are sown back into the forest soil through its gut. Many of the trees here depend on it entirely to spread and survive. For all its importance, the spectacled bear lives a deeply secretive life, thinly spread and rarely seen. Sadly, the cloud forest is shrinking year by year under human clearance, leaving these old gardeners ever harder pressed to find somewhere quiet and safe enough to survive. The Andes are not one mountain range. They are many worlds stacked upon one another, and the borders between them lie not on any map, but in altitude. Climb a few thousand feet, and the pressure drops, the temperature shifts, and the rules that govern life are rewritten from the start. A coat thick enough to keep warm at one level becomes a useless burden at the next. speed enough to escape down low is worthless on a vertical cliff. And so, almost every living thing here is locked into a single band of altitude. Not because they choose to stay, but because their bodies work properly only within that range. Only a very few have learned to move through many layers. And for that reason, they become the only things able to link worlds that would otherwise never touch. The African savanna, minutes after sunrise. A Thompson's gazelle has drifted from the herd. It does not know that every step it has taken is being watched. In the tall grass, a lioness has already chosen her mark. Her body presses flat against the earth, every sinew taut, coiled to strike. Then she launches. One lunge, one crushing weight, and it is over. This is what happens here every day, and has done so since long before our species thought to name the stars. But the sentence is not always carried out. That same morning, not far away, another herd stands upon the open plain and is about to do something rather unexpected. Dawn on the East African savanna. Where moments ago there was a single, solitary animal, now there is a sea of horns and hooves, hundreds of thousands of wildebeest stretching to the horizon. This is the true face of the species. Not the lone straggler, but a vast collective organism, moving almost as a single body. Biologists call it swarm intelligence. A single alarm, a flinch, a direction of flight ripples through thousands of bodies faster than any individual could react. When one animal at the edge of the herd catches the scent of a lion, the entire plain knows the hunter's position within seconds. But the power of the herd is not merely vigilance. In a congregation of 500,000, the odds of a lion selecting any one individual are vanishingly small. Each animal at the center is shielded by thousands of living bodies. Researchers call it the dilution effect, sheer numbers swallowing every individual risk. Yet this living shield exists only so long as the herd holds together. Shapes lie flattened in the scorched grass. Lions. They have been waiting there for some time. Separated from the herd since before dawn on this parched savanna, this lone wildebeest has almost no chance. In the natural world, solitude very often means death. The lead lioness gives the signal. The pride moves as one. It turns to face them. And confronts the hunters in a way none of them anticipated. The savannah falls silent. In a world where the slowest is the one chosen, speed is the first condition of survival. For the wildebeest, the weapons are numbers and sheer stubbornness. Elsewhere on the savannah, another prey animal faces the fastest hunter on Earth, and its means of escape is altogether more refined. The East African grasslands, midday. Sunlight slants through the acacia canopy. A herd of impala grazes quietly. They look peaceful, but every sense is at work. Because somewhere in the shadows, a leopard is watching. It lies pressed to the ground, utterly still. Its coat is covered in rosettes, the most sophisticated camouflage system in the mammalian world. Those dark markings break up the outline of the body, dissolving a killer weighing some 130 pounds into the background. It begins to move, each footfall silent. It is in no hurry. The leopard's hunt does not belong to speed, it belongs to distance. The boundary between life and death is roughly 80 feet. But impala are not easily approached. The instant one individual detects something amiss, the entire herd erupts. The leopard reaches nearly 37 miles per hour in its burst of acceleration, but only over a very short distance before it must stop. GPS data and camera traps in Kruger have shown that impala detect the leopard in more than half of all stalking attempts. The actual success rate is just 15 to 38%. The leopard does not prevail by being invisible. It prevails through patience, willing to fail 7 times in order to succeed on the 8th. But the most remarkable finding concerns what happens after the prey falls. The moment it brings down an impala, the leopard does not feed. It clamps the carcass in its jaws and climbs straight up into a tree. On the ground, hyenas and lions steal 40 to 60% of its kills. In the canopy, it keeps nearly all of them. It does not squander energy, it invests it. The prey survives through vigilance. The hunter succeeds by never giving up. Until now, the story has turned on the chase. The hunter attacks, the prey flees. But in the Kalahari Desert, another prey animal does something quite different. It refuses to run at all. The Kalahari Desert, where the sun rules before hunger does. This is the domain of the gemsbok, the desert antelope, with its ash-grey coat and striking black and white facial mask. Upon its head is the weapon that defines its entire story. A pair of straight, slender horns, sharp as spears nearly 4 feet long. A full-grown gemsbok weighs over 500 pounds. It is not as nimble as the impala, nor does it have a herd of 500,000 to vanish into. In the Kalahari heat, the gemsbok is a master of endurance. It can survive for days without water, drawing moisture from the very dry grasses that other species ignore. A creature tempered by such severity does not surrender easily. The same tenacity that carries it through the drought is the tenacity it brings to face the hunter. The lionesses fan out along the horizon, the arc tightening. One lioness charges from the front. A precise strike to the flank pulls it off balance. Minutes later, the savannah is silent once more. But in the wild, courage alone is not enough. However perfect a warrior, the solitary fighter must eventually fall before the overwhelming weight of numbers. But Africa holds one more lesson from a creature that even the hunters themselves treat with caution. The African Cape buffalo. A mature bull weighs up to 2,000 pounds, and atop its head sits a boss of horn so thick that rifle bullets have been known to ricochet off it. Colonial-era hunters placed it among the Big Five, not because it was rare, but because it would turn around and kill the one who had attacked it. Yet what sets the Cape buffalo apart is not individual strength. It is a behavior that researchers have named the rescue. A pride of lions brings down a buffalo that has strayed from the herd. prey is pinned to the ground. Fangs already buried in its throat, the story should end here. But the fallen buffalo's cries carry farther than the hunters expect. And the herd comes back. Massive bulls surge forward, horns lowered, the ground shaking beneath them. The pride is forced to release its quarry. Most herbivores, when a companion falls, simply flee further away. Cape buffalo do not. They answer the distress call, locate their own, and charge directly toward the danger. Beneath their placid appearance on the grasslands lies a network of constant vigilance, each animal reading signals from the set of an ear, the direction of a gaze, the rhythm of movement. When the danger signal fires, the herd shifts state in seconds, from grazing assembly to an army. Lions know this. They almost never attack a tightly formed buffalo herd in broad daylight. They wait for night, for rain, for the moment a single individual wanders apart. Even then, research in Kruger National Park shows that the lion's success rate drops markedly when facing Cape buffalo. Cape buffalo do not merely resist, they counterattack. There are records from across eastern and southern Africa of lions killed by buffalo not in self-defense, but in deliberate pursuits, when the entire herd actively hunted down the predator that had attacked one of their own. In Africa, the line between hunter and hunted is, at times, thinner than one might suppose. Who are the true hunters of the pride? The dry season has stretched on for weeks. Rivers shrink, grass burns yellow from horizon to horizon. As water sources contract, every species is forced toward the same downstream area, and conflict becomes inevitable. In this land, the line between predator and prey is not as clear as you might think. Hippos, seemingly slow creatures, cause more human deaths than most large mammals in Africa. Crocodiles are more patient than any killer, and sometimes the smallest creature is the one that lives the longest. In the distance, a herd of kudu antelope grazes. They do not yet know the hunt has begun. The lionesses have gradually spread into formation. Then they explode. Top speed near 50 miles per hour in the first few seconds. In an instant, the kudu goes down. Swift, precise, and ruthless. But here, no one eats in peace. The noise of the hunt has carried far. On the horizon, the silhouettes of hyenas have begun to appear. The meal must end quickly. Time in Africa sides with no one. Blood seeps into the dry grass. The sun climbs higher, and downstream, another conflict is simmering beneath the surface. At midday, the sun beats straight down onto the river. A pod of hippos lies packed together in the shallows, only their eyes and small ears visible. The dominant bull, weighing over 3,300 pounds, occupies the deepest water. This territory is inviolable. A young bull steps into the forbidden zone. The young bull does not retreat. The dominant bull charges like a torpedo, water exploding everywhere. Everything ends in seconds. The young bull yields and retreats to save his life. The water settles again. In Africa, the most dangerous creature is not always the one that looks the fiercest. Not far away, on a large acacia branch, sunlight filters in dappled patterns through the canopy. A leopard lies, stretched out its spotted coat, blending perfectly into the leaf shadows, nearly invisible. Below, an impala walks past without the slightest awareness. The leopard does not need darkness to conceal itself. Its coat is perfect camouflage in broad daylight. A tail flick, the only signal. Then it launches from the branch a precise, clean leap. Jaws lock around the prey's throat. And the extraordinary begins. It hauls the prey nearly its own weight back up the tree, step by step, by the sheer strength of its jaws and neck. Up high, the meal is safe from both lions and hyenas. The sun touches the horizon. The sky burns red, the silhouettes of acacia trees etched black against the fiery backdrop. A lion's roar echoes across the savannah. Not a threat, but a declaration we are still here. This continent witnessed life begin. Do not let it witness life end. But fire is not the only trial life must endure. Elsewhere on the planet, another battle rages where the enemy has no fangs or claws, but cold. A howl rips through the Siberian sky. Then another echoing through millions of snow-laden pines, piercing through air frozen at minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Then the entire forest trembles, not from the wind, but because life is awakening in the heart of death. The blizzard descends from the north, sweeping across the taiga like a giant hand erasing all traces. Visibility drops to just a few feet. Through that white curtain, an enormous dark shape looms into view. A moose, a creature weighing well over 1,000 pounds, lowers its head against the bitter wind. And behind it, at the edge of the pine forest, a pair of amber eyes flares, then vanishes. The Siberian tiger, the largest cat on the planet, the phantom of the winter forest. But today, it does not strike, it waits. Because in Siberia, patience is the deadliest weapon of all. The Russian winter does not merely freeze the ground, it rewrites every rule of survival. From the vast taiga to the Arctic tundra, from ice-capped peaks to the hidden world beneath the snow, winter here lasts 7 months and forgives no one. But in this cold that can freeze metal solid, who truly reigns? The answer does not lie in strength. It lies in adaptation, and every creature in this forest is proving that in its own way. Winter sunlight falls upon the taiga, pale gold spreading across millions of motionless pines. Amid this silence, the true battle for survival begins. The Siberian tiger Panthera tigris altaica needs no introduction. It is the solitary king of the winter taiga, and the cold is its ally. The Siberian tiger's winter coat is twice as thick as its summer fur. Each hair is hollow inside, trapping heat like the most perfect natural insulation system. Around the neck, a dense mane forms an armor against the cold. Its body can withstand temperatures dropping to minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit levels at which steel becomes brittle and prone to shattering. But it is sheer size that makes the Siberian tiger the absolute ruler. An adult male weighs over 600 pounds and stretches more than 10 feet, including the tail. A single male's territory can span from 400 to 1,500 square miles, an area larger than an entire city. On the harshest winter days, when temperatures hit rock bottom and snow piles higher than 4 feet, the Siberian tiger becomes virtually the only creature that dares to move across the ground. Its tracks imprint on virgin snow as large as dinner plates, deep but evenly spaced, the sole evidence that the world's largest land predator is still patrolling its kingdom. The orange and black stripes, perfect camouflage in the summer forest, are muted in winter beneath a thin layer of snow clinging to the fur, transforming the tiger into a grey-white shadow gliding through the pines. Only about 750 Siberian tigers remain in the wild in Russia. The IUCN lists them as endangered on the brink of depletion. With each passing winter, The Siberian tiger's battle is not only against the cold, but against disappearance itself. But in the winter taiga, power does not belong solely to the solitary. Some creatures understand that true strength lies in numbers. The grey wolf Canis lupus is the perfect counterpart to the Siberian tiger. If the tiger is a solitary king, then the wolf is an army. In summer, wolves disperse into small family groups. But when the first blizzard sweeps through the taiga, an ancient instinct calls them to unite. Five to 15 individuals, sometimes more, gather under the leadership of the alpha pair, the only wolves permitted to breed within the pack. Their howl is not merely a sound, it is the most sophisticated long-range communication system among terrestrial mammals. Each howl carries a unique frequency, traveling over 10 miles through the cold taiga air, summoning pack members from across the territory. And once the pack is united, the collective hunting machine begins to operate. Their preferred winter target? Moose prey weighing 10 times the weight of a single wolf. When the target has been chosen, the chase begins. Moose run faster than wolves. But deep snow is the enemy of herbivores. Each step grows heavier, each passing minute brings more exhaustion. And wolves know how to wait. When the prey collapses, the feeding hierarchy activates. The alpha pair eats first always. Then the beta wolves, followed by the lowest ranking members. This order is not cruelty, it is strategy. The alpha pair must stay strong enough to breed, ensuring the pack's survival through winter. And in the fading winter daylight, the howl rises again, a call of reunion, a confirmation that today the pack remains intact. The wolf's double-layered coat, a soft inner layer for warmth, a tough outer layer to block wind, allows them to sleep outdoors at minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit without shelter. The Siberian winter forges the bonds within a wolf pack into steel. The packs that survive the harshest winters are the most united. But not every predator needs a pack. Deep in the silent taiga, one creature has turned solitude into a weapon. The Eurasian lynx, lynx, is the true phantom of the Siberian pine forest. If the Siberian tiger relies on power, if wolves rely on numbers, the lynx needs only one thing: perfect silence. Its mottled grey winter coat blends completely with pine bark and moss-covered stone, rendering it nearly invisible when standing still. But the lynx's most formidable weapon lies in its paws. Enormous feet, disproportionately large for its body, distribute weight across the snow surface like natural snowshoes. The lynx moves across snow, leaving almost no trace, no sound, no disturbance, only a lethal approach. In winter, when food is scarce and energy must be conserved, the lynx shifts to active patrolling, moving continuously across a territory that can span up to 1,000 square miles. Today's prey: a grouse, a woodland bird scratching through snow for tree buds. The lynx approaches slowly. But today, luck does not smile upon it. The grouse swiftly beats its wings and flies away before the lynx can strike. The distinctive black ear tufts at the tips, not decoration, but sound-collecting antennae, enable the lynx to detect sounds from greater distances than any cat of comparable size. But the lynx is not the only creature to turn solitude into an advantage. In the snowy northern reaches, another is proving that cunning can sometimes surpass fangs and claws. The Arctic fox, Vulpes lagopus, is one of the most perfectly cold-adapted creatures on this planet. Its winter coat transforms from brownish grey to pure white so perfectly that when the fox lies motionless on the snow, it vanishes completely. A compact body, short legs, small rounded ears, everything evolved to minimize heat loss surface area. And here is the most astonishing figure. The Arctic fox does not begin to shiver until the temperature drops below -94 degrees Fahrenheit, a level of cold at which most mammals have long since perished. But warm fur is not enough without food, and on the frozen tundra, the Arctic fox has developed an extraordinary hunting technique, the mousing pounce. Head tilted, ears pricked, it listens for the microscopic sounds of rodents moving beneath the snow. Then a soaring leap, nose plunging straight down through the snow, punching through the frozen crust to snatch the prey hiding below. It buries surplus food in shallow caches beneath the snow reserves for the days when blizzards make venturing out impossible. The Arctic fox's survival depends not on strength or speed, but on intelligence and the ability to turn every opportunity into a meal. But if the Arctic fox is the adapter of the tundra, then the red fox, Vulpes vulpes, is the adapter of everywhere. The The red fox also employs the mousing pounce, but with a secret that science is still trying to decode. The hypothesis. Red foxes may sense the Earth's magnetic field and use it as a natural targeting system to pinpoint the exact location of prey beneath the snow. But the red fox is not just a hunter. It is the ultimate opportunist, eating insects, fish, wild berries, carrion, whatever winter leaves behind. And perhaps it is this very flexibility that explains why the red fox has the widest distribution of any canid, from the Russian taiga to the Sahara Desert, from the Arctic to the suburbs of Tokyo. On the coldest winter days, the red fox curls up beneath a tree trunk, its thick tail wrapped around its nose, and paws the perfect natural fur blanket. Unlike any other canid, the red fox can partially retract its claws, a cat-like trait that helps it grip slippery ice when pursuing prey. But as we follow the predators across the snow, a question arises. Where is the prey? Millions of rodents seem to vanish when winter arrives. The answer lies right beneath our feet, just a few inches below the snow surface. This is the Subnivean world, a hidden civilization beneath the snow that few ever see. When snow accumulates to about 6 inches, something miraculous occurs. Warmth from the ground creates a gap between the earth and the snow, a secret corridor where temperatures remain steady at around 32 degrees Fahrenheit. -32 degrees Fahrenheit below, while the snow surface above endures -40 degrees Fahrenheit, a difference of over 70 degrees across a distance of just a few feet. Snow, paradoxically, is the warmest blanket nature ever created. And within that warm world, voles and lemmings have built an entire underground city. A complex branching tunnel system with sleeping chambers, dining areas, and even food storage rooms stretches beneath the snow surface, across areas spanning hundreds of square yards. And most extraordinarily, lemmings breed in the dead of winter. While most animals are simply trying to survive, lemmings are creating the next generation beneath the protective snow. The lemming population boom and bust cycle, surging, then collapsing every 3 to 4 years, is the heartbeat of the entire Arctic winter ecosystem. When lemming populations explode, every predator thrives. When populations collapse, the entire ecosystem shudders. But this underground world is no impenetrable paradise. From above, asymmetrically placed ears are listening. The snowy owl, Buboscandiacus, is the ruler of the tundra skies, and its relationship with lemmings is nearly absolute. During breeding season, the snowy owl feeds almost exclusively on lemmings. The number of eggs it lays depends entirely on the lemming population. In boom years, the snowy owl lays more than 10 eggs. In crash years, it may not breed at all. Multi-layered white plumage covers it from head to toe, including the feet, an insulation system that allows it to sit motionless for hours on the snow without losing heat. Its ears are positioned asymmetrically on the skull, allowing the snowy owl to pinpoint the exact location of sound in three-dimensional space. Combined with specialized wing feathers that eliminate the sound of flapping, the snowy owl flies in absolute silence. Prey never hears death approaching. But if the snowy owl dominates the open tundra skies, deep within the taiga, another hunter is accomplishing what seems impossible. The great grey owl Strix nebulosa boasts a wingspan of nearly 5 feet. Yet its actual body is surprisingly light. Most of its size comes from thick, insulating plumage. Its enormous disc-shaped face functions like a parabolic antenna, collecting and directing sound waves to its asymmetrically placed ears. This biological technology allows the great grey owl to hear voles moving beneath more than 20 inches of packed snow. No radar, no technology, just 40 million years of evolution and a face designed perfectly to hear. And once the position is locked, the great grey owl plunges downward, smashing through a frozen snow crust more than 20 inches thick with the force of its feet. A wingspan of nearly 5 feet casts an enormous shadow gliding silently across the snow surface, like a phantom at midday. If you too are captivated by these extraordinary survival tactics, share your thoughts in the comments below. But some creatures choose an entirely different path, not enduring, not hiding, but leaving. And that departure is one of the most magnificent spectacles on the planet. Reindeer Rangifer tarandus do not flee from winter, they run straight through it. Each year, hundreds of thousands of reindeer undertake a migration spanning 600 to 750 miles along routes more ancient than human history. Leading the migration is not the largest bull, but the eldest females, the matriarchs who have lived through many winters and memorized every path. Their memories are living maps passed from generation to generation, not through genes, but through experience. Their hooves change with the seasons. In summer, soft and wide like cushioned pads. In winter, they harden into chisel-like edges, cutting through ice to dig for food below. The reindeer's nose is a biological marvel. Inside, it contains a complex network of coiled bones called turbinates that warm the frozen air before it reaches the lungs. But the most spectacular secret lies in their eyes. In winter, reindeer eyes shift to a deep blue, a change that enhances light sensitivity during the months of near total darkness. Reindeer can see ultraviolet light, an ability most mammals lack. Lichens absorb UV rays, standing out as dark patches against the blinding white snow. When a blizzard strikes mid-migration, thousands of reindeer press tightly together, forming a massive living mass that conserves heat for the herd. Each migration is a test. The weakest fall behind. Wolves and brown bears wait at the edges of the herd. But the reindeer herd presses forward, not out of courage, but driven by a primal instinct stronger than fear that has propelled this species through thousands of generations. The reindeer's strength lies not in fangs or claws. It lies in collective memory, the legacy passed down by ancestors through every winter. And when spring arrives, of its body weight. Once the den is dug and the body has stored enough fat, the brown bear enters the most extraordinary state biology has ever recorded. Heart rate drops from about 40 beats per minute to just 8. Body temperature decreases by about 9 degrees Fahrenheit, yet remains high enough for a rapid awakening if threatened. No eating, no drinking, no urination, no defecation. For 5 to 7 months, the bear's body recycles waste into protein, maintaining muscle mass without movement, something modern medicine still cannot replicate in humans. And in the midst of that winter sleep, the greatest miracle occurs. In January, the mother bear gives birth blind, hairless cubs weighing only 10 to 14 ounces, smaller than a can of soda. In the complete darkness of the den, the cubs nurse on their mother's fat-rich milk, the sole source of nutrition that helps them grow large enough before spring. The mother nurses her cubs without eating, sacrificing her own energy reserves to nourish the next generation. When spring touches the den entrance, the mother leads her cubs outside for the first time, 4-month-old cubs weighing about 10 pounds, seeing sunlight for the first time in their lives. The world outside is vast and full of danger, but the mother, now 40% thinner than before hibernation, will protect them at any cost. The Russian winter is the most ancient test that nature has ever set, and every species on this land has written a different answer. The tiger chooses solitary strength. The wolf chooses unity. The lynx chooses silence. The fox chooses cunning. The reindeer chooses migration. The bear chooses sleep. The lemming chooses to hide and breed in the season of death. All are different, but all answer the same question. How do you survive when everything around you wants to extinguish life? And at the edge of the taiga, as the first spring dawn paints the horizon pink, a howl rings out. The howl of a wolf, the very howl that opened this story. But this time, it is no longer a call to war. It is a call of life, confirming that the pack endures, that winter has not won. But not all power in nature belongs to the strongest. There exists a place on Earth so vast, so ancient, and so chaotic that raw muscular strength becomes almost meaningless. A place where even the most fearsome predators must submit to an invisible force they can neither see nor resist. Welcome to the Amazon rainforest, 2.6 million square miles of wild tropical jungle. This is no peaceful green garden. This is the most brutal battleground for survival on the planet. Beneath the darkened canopy, millions of organisms compete for every sliver of living space. Here, the adaptable survive. The vulnerable are consumed. And within this colossal biological engine, one question has always persisted. Who truly rules the Amazon? To find the answer, we will not look upward to the top of the food chain. We will cast our gaze down to the very bottom where true power is quietly forged. Because in the Amazon, size has never been the measure of strength. In this emerald kingdom, organization is the supreme weapon. Beneath the thick layer of decaying leaves on the Amazon floor, an empire operates. Silent, disciplined, and more numerous than any army in human history. Leafcutter ants are nature's original farmers. Tens of millions of years before humans learned to cultivate, they had already domesticated fungi. Every day, millions of leafcutter ants leave the colony, climb tree trunks, slice leaf fragments with surgical precision, and carry them back on their bodies. But they do not eat the leaves. They grow their food. The leaves are chewed into pulp, mixed with saliva, then spread across fungal beds in a tunnel system deep underground. The fungus grows on this decomposing substrate, and that is the true meal for the entire colony. The first agriculture on this planet did not belong to humans. It belonged to an insect weighing less than 1/10 of a gram. A single leafcutter colony can number up to 8 million individuals, 8 million organisms functioning as a single body. And at the center of this empire, a single queen. The leafcutter queen lives 14 to 20 years. Over her lifetime, she produces more than 150 million daughters. 150 million. No creature on Earth, including humans, can generate a lineage that vast within a single lifetime. Every ant knows its exact role. Sentinel, cutter, transporter, fungus farmer. None needs teaching, none needs reminding. No central brain, no verbal commands, only pheromones. Pheromones, the chemical signals each ant secretes, are the invisible language of the empire. A single pheromone trail coordinates hundreds of thousands of individuals simultaneously, more precise than any communication system humans have ever devised. Each year, the colony processes tons of soil, excavating, aerating, recycling nutrients across the entire forest floor. Without ants, the Amazon soil would suffocate. But the underground empire does not consist only of farmers. There are also invaders. Army ants are the perfect antithesis of the leafcutter. Where leafcutters build, army ants destroy. A single army ant raid mobilizes up to 200,000 individuals. They pour across the forest floor like a black river, stretching over 200 meters, obliterating everything in their path. Insects, spiders, scorpions, even small lizards, nothing escapes this army.
In the jungle, survival is a brutal battle.
The rustling of hundreds of thousands of tiny legs across dead leaves is the last sound many creatures ever hear. Army ants build no permanent nests. They construct bivouacs, living structures assembled from thousands of ants locking their legs together. This living wall shields the queen and larvae through the night. When dawn arrives, the bivouac dismantles. The army marches again. No rest, no negotiation, no borders. Whether building or destroying, this is not mere instinct. This is the mathematics of evolution honed across tens of millions of years, more refined than any governance system ever conceived. If the jaguar is the symbol of power in the Amazon, then ants are the foundation keeping the entire forest running. Strength does not reside in size. It resides in organization. The first does not stand its ground like the gemsbok. It does the opposite. It runs and never stops running. That animal is the caribou, the reindeer of the far north. The threat it faces is not a 3-second ambush, but a pursuit that lasts a lifetime. Each year, caribou herds undertake the longest overland migration of any mammal on Earth, more than 800 miles, across the open tundra. The tundra is a paradox. So flat it appears empty, yet so vast it swallows everything that enters. No trees for cover, no caves for shelter. Against the endless white, the caribou herd moves like a dark river flowing across the horizon. They walk because they must. The Arctic winter strips all food from the ground, and to stand still is to starve. For the caribou, movement is life itself. Their legs are built for the journey. Tendons click with every stride. Broad hooves grip firmly on snow, a long-distance machine that scarcely knows fatigue. That clicking has a purpose of its own. It allows the herd to maintain contact through blinding snowfall, where the eye cannot see but the ear can still locate a companion. But there is a harsh truth. The caribou does not travel alone. The shadow that follows it is always there, silent, patient, matching every step. That shadow is the gray wolf. A predator so bound to the caribou that scientists have given it a specific name: migratory coupling. Where caribou go, wolves follow. The two species braid together, tracing a map of survival across the breadth of the north. This bond is so ancient that it has shaped them both. Wolves evolved to pursue over vast distances. Caribou evolved to deny their pursuer a single moment of rest. And if the caribou's migration is extraordinary, the numbers of the hunter are more astonishing still. The total distance a single grey wolf covers in a year can reach 3,500 miles, more than 4 times the migration of the very prey it follows. One wolf tracked in the wild covered the equivalent of 4,500 miles in just a few years. The hunter does not merely keep pace, it travels far further than the prey. From the caribou's perspective, no matter how far it walks, how many mountain ranges it crosses, how many icy rivers it fords, the shadow is still there each time it looks back. Each individual survives by ensuring it is not the one chosen. The herd never stops. The endless migration is how they confront the hunter, not in 3 seconds, but across millions of footsteps. The caribou does not defeat the hunter. It does not need to. It need only keep moving, keep breeding, keep filling the tundra faster than the wolves can diminish it. Each season, the herd renews itself. New calves replace those that have fallen. That living river flows on and never runs dry. In the taiga forests at the edge of the tundra lives the largest species of deer still walking the earth. The moose, a mature bull, stands up to 6.5 feet at the shoulder, weighs over 1,500 pounds, and carries a rack of antlers spanning nearly 6 feet like a shield of bone mounted on a crane. It does not live in great herds. It wanders largely alone, pushing through coniferous forests where the snow reaches its belly. Those long legs allow it to wade through deep snow that would trap most other species. Its long, flexible muzzle lets it strip leaves, snap branches, and dive to the bottom of lakes to feed on aquatic plants, a habit rare among the deer family. In winter, it may consume up to 44 pounds of food each day simply to maintain its body heat. A dense double coat of fur insulates so effectively that snow falling on its back does not melt. And despite its ponderous appearance, it can run at 34 miles per hour and swim across lakes stretching miles without rest. Its weapon is the front legs. A single kick, driven by 1,500 pounds of body weight through a hoof as hard as steel enough to shatter a skull, snap ribs, or hurl an attacker several yards. In the harshest wilderness of the north, it needs no herd. Size itself is its shield. The bobcat, the most silent killer in North America. Though weighing barely 33 pounds, they can bring down prey 8 times their own body weight, including full-grown deer. Their spotted coat is nature's own cloak of invisibility, blending seamlessly into dry leaves, granite, or patchy snow. They live in solitude, each individual commanding territory spanning dozens of square miles. They can even swim, despite being a cat that detests the water. Patience is their most formidable weapon. A bobcat will lie motionless for hours, waiting for precisely the right moment to strike. Winter is the harshest trial, when prey grows scarce and deep snow impedes every step. But in these frozen mountains, one bobcat has found a place unlike any other. This bobcat may be in luck. The river here never freezes, fed by volcanic hot springs. Animals gather to feed. But hunting in water is no business for a cat that hates getting its paws wet. It eyes a flock of golden-eyed ducks but cannot get close enough. Across the bank, steam warms the canopy. High above, there is prey, 20 feet straight up. At last a squirrel. Not much, but enough to carry on. Winter in the mountains demands tenacity. The bobcat has that quality, in abundance. The red fox is the most widely distributed land carnivore on Earth, more so than any other wild mammal. Weighing under 15 pounds, yet it survives where grey wolves and polar bears struggle. A triple-layered coat keeps it warm at -40 degrees. Its bushy tail wraps around its nose during sleep, serving as a natural insulating scarf. It eats nearly anything: insects, fruit, urban refuse. More than 45 different food items have been recorded in the diet of a single population. But its most astonishing ability lies in its ears. Scientists have discovered that red foxes use the Earth's magnetic field to locate prey, the only mammal known to employ a magnetic compass while hunting. When pouncing toward the northeast, the success rate climbs to 73%. In any other direction, just 18%. The red fox, found from the deserts of North Africa to the high Arctic. A vole hides beneath the snow. The fox can smell it, but every footstep is a warning. Its ears pinpoint the prey's exact position from more than 40 feet away. It leaps. Sometimes it misses, but when the timing is right, a mouse buried under 3 feet of snow lands squarely in its jaws. Two worlds, dozens of strategies, but only one answer repeating itself across the planet. Life does not accept its fate in silence. Some species use numbers, some use speed, some use brute strength, and some have nothing but naked will. Different in method, identical in essence. Those ancient strongholds now face a threat of a different kind, one that neither sharp horns, nor speed, nor battle formation can overcome. This threat does not come from fang or claw, and this time the prey cannot solve it alone. The answer lies with the species that caused the problem. It survived, not because it was stronger, but because it refused to play the role it had been given. The sentence may come from fang and claw, from the cold, or from our own hands. But wherever life is pushed to the very edge, there is always resistance. That is the oldest voice on Earth. Thank you for joining us on Nature Moments. Every creature on this planet carries within it a story of resilience, and we will continue to tell those stories. If this film has touched you, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. Of all the encounters you have just witnessed, which one impressed you the most? But there is one predator that hunts piranhas as though they were easy prey, a hunter that preys upon the cleaners themselves. The giant otter Terranura brasiliensis, the longest otter species in the world. "6 feet from nose to tail, 48 to 75 pounds of pure muscle." IUCN classifies them as endangered. The fur trade of the 20th century nearly erased this species from existence. Today, mercury contamination from artisanal gold mining, deforestation, and dam construction continue to threaten the remaining populations. Their future hangs by a thread. But in the river stretches where they still endure, giant otters are the one adversary nobody wants to face. They hunt in groups 3 to 8 or more, moving in synchrony underwater at speeds around 9 miles per hour. A double-layered waterproof coat keeps their bodies warm in cold currents. Not a single drop of water touches the skin beneath. The giant otter's call pierces through heavy jungle. Each individual possesses a unique vocalization, an acoustic fingerprint. Researchers have documented more than 20 distinct sound types, from warning barks to hunting screams. Complex group communication, precise cooperative hunting. This is not a wild animal pack. This is a tactical unit. When hunting fish, the group fans out in a line, driving schools into shallow water. Each otter holds a position like players on a pitch. Each day, a single giant otter consumes 6 to 9 pounds of fish. Multiply that across the group, the quantity of fish vanishing daily is staggering. And here lies the most remarkable fact. Giant otters hunt piranhas. The cleaners become the prey. The piranha's razor teeth become meaningless against the speed, coordination, and bite force of the otter. The hunter that hunts the creature everyone fears. But piranhas are not the most formidable opponent. Giant otters confront even black caimans, the largest predator in the Amazon basin. When facing a black caiman, the entire otter group surrounds it, lunging in to bite from multiple directions, creating chaos. The caiman, despite outweighing them tenfold, is overwhelmed by coordination. A group of 20 otters can force a black caiman into retreat. The collective defeats the individual. Numbers plus discipline outweigh solitary strength. That is, the law giant otters have proven across millions of years. The one who controls the river might seem to hold supreme power. But the Amazon is not only water. Where water meets land, muddy riverbanks, submerged root systems, darkness beneath the canopy, the true rulers finally emerge. Who do you think truly rules the Amazon? Share your thoughts in the comments below. But the most terrifying chapter has yet to begin. At the riverbank, where water meets land, 3 of the planet's most powerful predators share a single territory. 3 apex predators, 3 creatures strong enough to kill anything, and none willing to yield. The first has been here since before the dinosaurs vanished. It is the immortal shadow of the Amazon. The black caiman Melanosuchus niger, the largest crocodilian in the Amazon basin. Adults reach 16 to 20 feet, weighing several hundred pounds. Jet black skin not by accident. In the blackwater regions of the Amazon, where tannins from decaying leaves stain the river the color of dark tea, the black caiman disappears completely. Perfect camouflage. The predator becomes the darkness, and darkness never warns before it strikes. The black caiman's eyes see through the dark courtesy of the tapetum lucidum, reflecting the faintest light, turning pitch-black night into broad daylight. It lies motionless for hours, only its eyes and nostrils breaking the surface. Patience is the strategy, time is the ally. After feeding, the black caiman can fast for weeks, even months. A metabolic rate slowed to perfection across millions of years transforms each meal into a long-term investment. In the 20th century, the black caiman nearly vanished. The hide trade pushed them to the brink of extinction. CITES Appendix 1. The highest level of protection was the last lifeline keeping this species from the abyss. Today, populations have recovered tens of thousands of individuals in the wild, primarily within protected reserves. But the future remains fragile. The black caiman has survived 65 million years of upheaval through ice ages, through the extinction of the dinosaurs. Ancient, patient, nearly invincible, but even the black caiman has something to fear. In the darkness where submerged roots tangle beneath the surface, another creature waits, more silent, more patient, and possessing the purest brute force in the reptile world. The green anaconda Eunectes murinus, the heaviest snake on Earth. Reaching 20 feet in length, a body as thick as a tree trunk, heavier than any serpent that has ever lived. The anaconda is the supreme ambush specialist. Eyes and nostrils positioned atop the head, allowing it to lie almost completely submerged, exposing only 2 tiny points above the waterline. Prey never sees it coming until it is too late. When the anaconda strikes, it does not bite to kill. It constricts. Coil after coil of solid muscle wraps around the victim, and with every exhalation the coils tighten. But the killing mechanism is not suffocation as long believed. Modern research by Dr. Scott Boback has demonstrated that death comes from circulatory arrest. The crushing pressure sends blood pressure soaring. The heart can no longer pump. Internal organs fail. Within minutes, the prey dies not from lack of air, but because the blood stops flowing. Circulatory arrest. A silent death, efficient and more merciless than any venom. Once the prey is dead, the anaconda dislocates its lower jaw. The bones can separate entirely and swallows the victim whole, often consuming animals larger than itself. The swallowing process can take hours. The anaconda's entire body distorts, stretching and bending around the prey like a living sack. A single large meal can sustain an anaconda for weeks, even months. During that time, it lies motionless, digesting slowly, invisible among roots and mud. Safe in the water, sluggish on land. The anaconda is a creature of two worlds, but truly dangerous only when water is the battlefield. Silent, patient, overwhelming force. The anaconda needs no speed. It needs only a single opportunity. But the ground is only the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the water, a world far more terrifying awaits, where power is measured not by fangs or claws, but by something entirely invisible. Up to 8 feet long, weighing nearly 44 pounds. It looks more like a rotting log than a predator, but appearances deceive. This is the electric eel, and it carries within its body a weapon no other species on Earth possesses. The electric eel is not, in truth, an eel at all. It belongs to the order Gymnotiformes, the knifefish more closely related to catfish and carp. The name eel is a centuries-old mistake. The elongated shape fooled everyone. Biologically, it is an entirely different animal. Inside the electric eel's body lie 3 separate electrical organs: the main organ, Sachs organ, and Hunter's organ. Each organ serves a distinct purpose, and this division of function stands as evidence of millions of years of evolutionary refinement. Sachs's organ emits weak electrical pulses, 10 to 100 volts, not for attack, but to see. This is a biological sonar system. Electrical waves radiate outward, bounce off surrounding objects, and paint a three-dimensional map of the underwater environment. In the opaque water where ordinary eyes are useless, the electric eel perceives the world through its electric field. Every organism passing through creates a disturbance, and the eel detects it. When the target enters range, hunting mode engages. 80% of its body consists of cells stacked upon each other like thousands of batteries. When the command fires, all discharge simultaneously. A massive electrical pulse surges through the murky water. The prey has no time to react. Muscles lock. The nervous system shuts down. The contest ends in milliseconds. For larger targets, the electric eel coils its body around the victim like a tightening electromagnet, doubling the intensity of the lethal strike. No claws, no fangs. Power in the Amazon is sometimes completely invisible. But the electric eel is not the only creature making the Amazon River deadly. There is another army far smaller, but 1,000 times more numerous. When people mention piranhas, Hollywood has built a legend, a ravenous school capable of stripping a cow to bone in minutes. That legend is almost entirely false. The red-bellied piranha Pygocentris natureri reaches a maximum of about 13 inches, weighing roughly 7.5 pounds, far smaller than the movies suggest. But do not confuse size with power. The piranha's teeth are among the most perfect weapons evolution has ever produced. Triangular, razor-sharp, interlocking like scissor blades. Bite force relative to body size ranks among the strongest in the freshwater fish world. But the scientific truth is more surprising than any horror film. Piranhas are primarily scavengers. Most of the time they feed on carrion, insects that fall into the water, seeds, even algae. The cinematic killer Hollywood invented? It barely exists. Feeding frenzies, collective feeding explosions, are exceedingly rare. They occur only when piranhas are desperately starved, or when dropping water levels crowd hundreds into shallow pools. In reality, piranhas are rather timid. They typically avoid large objects, and most of their lives pass in caution rather than aggression. Piranhas possess a lateral line system running along both flanks, detecting vibrations in the water with remarkable precision. When a piranha is wounded, chemical signals disperse through the water. The entire school reacts immediately, not to cannibalize, but to mount a collective defense. Piranha teeth shed and regrow throughout their lives, always sharp, always ready. Evolution equipped them with a self-repairing arsenal. Hundreds of small brains, connected through chemistry and vibration, reacting in an instant. They act as a single organism. The piranha's true role is not killer. They are the sanitation crew, clearing carcasses, preventing disease, keeping the river healthy. Without piranhas, animal carcasses would accumulate. Bacteria would bloom. Thousands of other fish species would perish from epidemic disease. The razor-toothed army keeps the river clean so that life may continue. The jaguar Panthera onca, the uncrowned king of the Amazon. The strongest bite force among all big cats, 1,000 to 1,500 pounds per square inch. Stronger than a lion, stronger than a Bengal tiger pound for pound. And the jaguar does not bite the neck like a lion, nor the belly like a leopard. It bites directly through the skull-piercing bone, striking the brain, a technique unique among the great cats. One bite. Instant termination. But what makes the jaguar the supreme apex predator is not bite force alone, it is adaptability. It swims powerfully, one of the few big cats that hunts in water. It sees in darkness, courtesy of tapetum lucidum, reflecting every faint ray of light. The rosette-patterned coat is not merely beautiful. Each rosette disrupts the body's outline, transforming the jaguar into dappled fragments of light on the forest floor. Flawless camouflage beneath the filtered canopy. At night, the jaguar becomes virtually invisible. Soft paws tread soundlessly across dead leaves. Prey becomes aware of its presence only when everything is already too late. The jaguar hunts caimans. It leaps from the riverbank, biting through the caiman's skull from behind. The attack concludes in seconds before the caiman can even turn. No other big cat on Earth possesses this skill. Hunting armored reptiles in water. That is the exclusive domain of the Amazon jaguar. A predator that operates on land, in water, and in the trees. There is nowhere in the Amazon the jaguar cannot reach. The Amazon holds 89% of the global jaguar population. Losing the Amazon means losing the jaguar and losing the keystone species that maintains balance across the entire ecosystem. IUCN classifies the jaguar as near threatened. Deforestation, habitat loss, and human conflict shrink their territory every year. Weighing over 220 pounds in the Amazon, where prey is most abundant, jaguars here are significantly larger than their Central American counterparts. Massive size, superior bite force, limitless adaptability. The jaguar stands as the pinnacle of evolution in the Amazon. But even the pinnacle is not safe. Three creatures at the top of the food chain. Three beings powerful enough to kill anything within their domain. But none of them is truly safe. The black caiman can be ambushed by the jaguar. The anaconda can be torn apart by the black caiman. Jaguar cubs can be constricted to death by the anaconda. This is the law of the Amazon. There is no invincible predator, only one that has not yet met the right opponent. The power triangle caiman, it is three prisoners locked in a cycle from which none can escape. And that is the answer to the question posed at the beginning, but not the answer most would expect. Every year, 4,281 square miles of Amazon rainforest disappear, according to 2020 data from INPE, Brazil's National Institute for Space Research. "4,000 square miles, equivalent to the area of a small nation, every single year." When the forest vanishes, the food chain collapses. Ants lose the forest floor, spiders lose the darkness, electric eels lose the waterways, piranhas lose the rivers. Giant otters endangered. Jaguars near threatened. Black caimans barely pulled back from the edge of extinction, now facing new threats. Climate change extends the dry season. Rivers shrink. Aquatic predators lose their shelter. And when the water recedes, every conflict grows more savage. Artisanal gold mining pumps mercury into the rivers, poisoning fish, poisoning otters, poisoning the indigenous communities living along the water's edge. Numbers do not lie, but numbers cannot tell the whole story. The Amazon is not merely a forest, It is a lung. It is an oxygen factory. It is a climate shield for the entire planet. And it is being destroyed faster than any ecosystem on Earth. But amid all this destruction, the original question still echoes: who truly rules the Amazon? Not the jaguar, though its bite pierces through skulls. Not the black caiman, though its armor is older than the dinosaurs. Not the anaconda, not the electric eel, not the piranha. The true ruler of the Amazon is the ecosystem as a whole, where the smallest, most silent organisms keep everything running. Remember the ant empire from the beginning of this story. 8 million individuals, 150 million daughters from a single queen, tons of soil processed every year. Without ants, the forest floor suffocates. Without piranhas, the rivers fester. Without otters, fish populations collapse. Without electric eels, the underwater ecological web fractures. Every organism, from the smallest to the largest, is a single link. Remove one link, and the entire chain falls apart. Strength does not reside in size. It resides in organization, in connection, in a balance that only nature can create. That is the most ancient law of the Amazon, a law that 2.6 million square miles of rainforest has obeyed for millions of years. Within the heart of this planet, there is a place where life turns most savage. A place that does not belong to humankind, and perhaps should not. Thank you for joining Nature's Moments. The natural world still holds countless stories waiting to be told. We will see you on the next journey. For those who have not yet subscribed, now is the time, because the Amazon and the astonishing creatures within it deserves to be known by more people. On the vast plains of Uganda, peace is a fleeting luxury.